Good evening, everybody. I don't have any theme music. Sorry about that. The reason is I am still in transit to our new location in very, very, very northern New Jersey. But, we're lucky enough to continue live streaming here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. As we get ready to get. And I assure you that all these are being recorded and they'll be out in podcasts. Leah's been writing them. They're in drafts. And waiting for me to get solid internet connections and my office set up and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate my live stream audiences. It's really important for my live stream audiences to share and retweet. And please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube because, we need those followers and we need those boosts because we're losing a little audience not doing the podcast. And I'm sorry about that. But it really is a matter of moving sucks. And, I went over this Christian took over the show. One of the things that's great about moving, though, is it's forced me, like I said, a couple of months ago when I was reviewing, I did make a commitment that when we change this company, I'm just going to look at its challenges that we have to face. And one of the good things about, the company getting going through some changes is, you look to new resources, you start organizing and recruiting a little more. And you also realize that there's some amazing people around you that can carry big loads, and Christian has been carrying big loads. He's going to be on the show again tonight, and I really appreciate him, his knowledge and his insight and his expertise coming on board for a number of subjects. And our show writer, Leah, of course, has stepped it up and aided us so much in the social media work to keep people aware that New Jersey Revolution Radio is here and we're alive and we're just fine. But it is a matter of hours that I can put in on it, which will be getting better as I get more settled in up here in north New Jersey. Tonight's show is going to touch on a number of subjects that I disagree with some comrades on, and I think it's okay to disagree. I think all of us on the left have had arguments either in meetings or coffee shops or whatever. Some arguments, I guess, more important than others. And what I found in a lot of arguments is that, especially online arguments, is that you don't really change people's minds a whole lot. It's very difficult to change people's minds. And this goes all the way back to union organizing. And when I first learned that, you had to develop real relationships with people. The superficial manner in which a lot of organizations, liberal, neoliberal organizations, front groups, grassroots, supposed like Working Families and them other shit organizations. They're very superficial. Eventually, you peel back one layer on the onion and, you're staring at Democratic Party pigs in the face. And so if you do develop deep relationships with organizations, like I used to work for the Communications Workers of America, and you dig into that organization, you just find out they're criminals and charlatans. And that's why they can't organize and why the left of the Democratic Party is not organized successfully for at least 30 or 40 years now, is because they refuse to develop real deep relationships in communities, like labor, like, poor neighborhoods, like areas that were affected by the drug wars. These areas have very little to say in our government, and unions have basically refused to be their voice, even though many, many union members live in these areas and work in these areas. Because that's the way you change minds, that you've got to care about the people that you organize with. So, I'm hoping that when we discuss things we don't agree on, that Revolution Radio does so in a way that can change some minds out there. And I hope that everybody listens because, the bottom line is, if you can't change your mind, you can wind up being a pretty stupid person, because I've been wrong a lot in my life. And if it wasn't for me changing my mind, I'd still be somewhat of a right-wing conservative. That's what I was in high school. But I changed my mind over time. I used to think that, there were people in my life that were friends and political allies. I found out new information about their politics and how they treated me when it came down to being a comrade. I changed my mind. And now I'm in a better place and surrounded by better people. It's okay to change your mind. And I think that, when you get into some of the psychology of it, you have to understand when you change your mind, you're making yourself uncomfortable. It's usually easier for us to stay in a comfortable place than to change our mind or to realize that we're even to have the humility or the good sense to admit that we're wrong about something. You have to in order to know the truth. Because if you're wrong about something, then I hope you're able to change your mind. And so, tonight, and I want to couple that, before I bring in my co-host tonight, guy I love very much out of North New Jersey, Africa. I want to couple that with, just the ethics of being media and being independent media, which I'm very proud of here. I have spent some time, trying to make sure that we do an ethical job here. And I do have conversations with a number of people who have done journalism and journalistic work for years and years on end. And, I'm hoping that, my show here reflects truth and honesty, even if it makes us uncomfortable. I am hoping that we discuss things using truth, and that's important to me. So we're going to bring in my comrade here, Afrika, tonight, and get going. And I don't think he needs a real big introduction right now because he's been on the show. Have you been on the show enough now, man? Are you happy yet with your number of appearances? Is it 4 or 5 now, man?
Nah, we need a 5-day show, man. I want to be on here 5 days. Now we need our own media, man. We need to counter the narrative out there.
So you're one of my biggest cheerleaders when it comes to that, man. I want to tell you, I appreciate you for that. I really do.
Gotcha.
Nobody's called though. Anyway, well, I'm just telling you, it ain't working, man. The money, I don't, maybe there's a check in the mail. I look today. I'll go out to the post office box tomorrow. Let me see, but
yeah, the revolution don't pay till you win. Yeah,
bills are due next week, man.
Yeah, my
So, are we having a revolution yet, man? I ask you every time to poke at you because are we having a revolution yet? What do you think? Now that Joe Biden's in office, we're gonna push him to the left, right? We got to do that. Honestly, as much of a bullshit artist as most people who say that are. It is true, right? I mean, we got to organize. We got to take advantage of whatever the political situation is, whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever. We got to organize, right?
Yeah, we got to organize, but Biden in. But you see the cabinet picks. You see the people that he's putting in. It's not like it's some of us out there that are against Biden that don't mess with the Republicans either. That don't agree with the Republicans. Like we're all like. Whatever media space you listen to, they never speak about us. But most of us keep saying both parties are the same. Biden is the same as Trump. And with the cabinet picks, you can see he's putting in the same people. The same career politicians, the same people that led us to the catastrophe that we in now are the same people going in. Like even the people that they put in, the black people that they put in, they're career politicians. They're acting like this is the first time we've had all females in here speaking on the communication teams. First black person here, but it's all the same neoliberal, same way of thinking, same philosophy, same institutional people that they're putting in, and they're not really putting in people that's gonna do the will of us, the average people, the people that's out here struggling, like looking for help from our tax dollars. Because they're not giving us help because we're just begging them for help. It's our tax dollars that we are asking to work for us. And they're not using that to work for us. And the people that they're putting in position of power, like, hold on, let me see what's his name, man. Let me remember his name. Cedric something. He's a congressman from Louisiana. Cedric Richmond. Yo, the part of the country that he take care of, that he's responsible for, you know what they call it? They call it Cancer Alley. The black politician that Biden put in charge of public engagement, he's part of his cabinet. The part of America that he's responsible for, the nickname for it is Cancer Alley. That's sickening. I mean, this is somebody that works for the pharmaceutical company, not pharmaceutical, the fuel industry. I mean, the oil companies. This is what he's been doing his whole career. Like you could just Google it up and see everything he's done his whole career. And you can see it's not working for the benefit of the people. The people, like his a few years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, the people were demanding that he come in and look into the toxic pollution that was coming into their community. He ignored all of them. He didn't listen to them. He listened to the fuel companies. People died. Like I'm telling you, they call his community cancer alley. Now, how are we gonna? How me, somebody that's rational, that uses my mind? How am I gonna support candidates like this that bring people in here that take us back to the old form of white supremacy? Not the Trump in your face white supremacy, but the behind the back, the stabbing in the back white supremacy. Like charter schools, like things like that. Instead of fixing our schools, you bring in charter school to segregate the community. Like little things like that. It's deep, man. I don't see no revolution. We have I keep telling you, we need this platform. You need to be the media. Our voice has to be out there.
Yeah, listen. I think that you expressing these views, and the more people that support media like this, hopefully they'll support New Jersey Revolution Radio. But quite honestly, we need more people doing what I've done here, and what we're trying to do here. And that's what I'm. Am I back there? I'm sorry, I dropped you for just
I got you. I hear you.
There you go. So I think that one of the things I've noticed with the media, because I've taken in a lot of mainstream media over the last couple of months, whereas I think for a lot of time I was getting my media from my Facebook feed, my Twitter feed. I decided to pull myself out of that during the kind of final weeks of the presidential election, just to educate myself and see what was going on in the world of media from a technical end. It was more just like, hey, let me look at what kind of graphics they're using on MSNBC, because I'm sure as shit not going to pull a lot of content from these douchebags. But you can't help but absorb what they're talking about. And what I did, instead of just kind of watching one channel, which is what I think most Americans do, they come home and might watch a half an hour of Fox News. I remember my dad used to come home from work and watch Eyewitness News every night. Right? He would come home, Channel 7 Eyewitness News at 5 o'clock, 5:30, whatever time. It was just about the time he plopped on the couch to open a beer and unwind from his day. And but when I took in a lot of the media sources, one of the things I noticed, it was all the same messaging. It was almost like talking points had gone out, and we know talking points go out, but it was like they were just reading off them and not investigating anything. And no matter what side of it, listen, I don't care what your opinion, but there was no journalism going on anywhere in this country about anything other than we were all grateful that Joe Biden has won an election. We're all happy. We're all dancing in the streets. And I don't want to take away from people that for one reason or another are genuinely happy this guy won. I'm not. My Facebook feed is not. My lefty comrades are not. The left has taken a giant blow in this, in my opinion, in this election. Won the day, won 4 years. Bernie and Elizabeth Warren are going to be, they're like outside they're going to be outside the buildings throwing rocks at windows. Hey.
They deserve it, though. They deserve to be out there. They sold us out. They sold us out. They're winning. They sold us out. They're winning with Biden. They deserve everything they're getting. Like, I knew they were going to do this to Bernie. They did it to him 4 years ago. Like, it's the same thing that keep happening over and over and over. But we get it. Like you said, everybody was in the street celebrating. It wasn't everybody. It's who they're showing you. It's who the media is showing you. What they're showing you. They're not showing you our news feed. They're not showing you my news feed. Yo, over 40% of people don't want to take the vaccine. Did you hear what I just said?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it in a minute.
Man.
I just want to make a mention. I just want to make a mention if people want to comment on the stream right now. I did have Lori, our comrade, who studies, medical sciences and things. She's on the stream, and I wanted to show you. I could see your login. You don't need to log in, Lori. You can just comment on the Facebook feed, and we'll pop in your questions there. Yeah, hi, Lori. There you are. She said, "Send me." You don't need a login link, Lori. You can just go ahead and comment on the Facebook stream, and we'll see you in the studio. So I mean, the specific picks, I think, and I was talking about this narrative from the media. The big narrative is one of the big ones is the diversity of his cabinet, including many African Americans, many women, even a Native American appointment to major appointments. John Kerry is going to be the first ever climate czar, whatever that means. They dug him out of the crypt to come do 4 more years or something. I mean, it is a rerun. What we're all seeing, when any of us have been involved in politics or watching, is a revamp of the Obama administration. That's what I see. And coupled in with the George Bush administration in his war cabinet.
Exactly.
I mean, but what's being touted on the media, you would think that Bernie Sanders just won this election and FDR had come back from the dead and we're going to have a brand new, grand new deal. This man has openly said he's against the Green New Deal. So
is the media free?
You know what I want to think is that the call to activists to get more active and stay active has to be carried out, no matter where you are at politically, because I think that's truth. But where's the truth in what these appointments mean to our government? Where's the truth in how much it means to have more African-American faces, be wherever they be on the political spectrum, in government, looking at people, doing things in our government, making large appointments, hiring people, creating policy, regulating, making sure policy is enforced? What does that mean for our country? It means something. It's not nothing. I can't be so fucking signal. I don't want to call it, and I don't want to offend people by saying they're all, you know, oh, they're all put there to sell and they're just black faces. That's offensive to me.
No,
to some of these people.
I was gonna wait, but I was gonna wait, but I'll give it to you now, man. You want it now? You want it now?
I know where I think you're gonna go, so I'm trying to head you off the path and say
you don't know where I'm
something,
going.
and I think it is positive.
It's gonna be simple for you, man. It's gonna be real simple. Hey, like at some point, I don't know your life. I don't know the last 30 years of your life. But at some point, you started to look at the world and like things wasn't adding up. And you started doing some digging, you started studying. And you even came to a point where you said, I'm no longer just Brian. I'm a socialist. You're a socialist, right?
A communist, socialist, whatever.
Yeah, you're a socialist, communist.
I'm not a member of any political party.
But your ideological perspective leads towards
ML. I think of myself as ML.
So you know what that is? That's a rejection of capitalist institutions. Like the media you were just talking about. You were just talking about the media, how you listen to it, and it's all programming nonsense. You listen to it and you hear and you take it in. You know why? Because it's state propaganda. It is state media. It is there for the state. You see, these are not Africa's words. If you listen to Malcolm, you listen to Martin, you listen to you want to listen to Lenin, you want to listen to Marx, they will tell you these institutions are state media propaganda outlets. Because that's how we get information. That's how you get information. I get information. Everybody in America get information from the news feed, from the internet, from social media. It's not too many places you could go. And when you inundate all these places with rhetoric, with talking points, you control how people think. So now we believe if you put a black face in a certain position, political seat, they're going to do the will of black people. When in all actuality, they're maintaining the institution which they're in. Their job is to maintain the status quo of that institution. That is sociological information that I'm giving you. This is not just opinion that I'm making up. C. Wright Mills wrote a book in the 60s, The Power Elite, where he started to break down how society was being like stratified along these lines. We have to read. The book for today is written by C. Wright Mills. What did I just call it? The Power Elite. You have to read that book. If you want to organize, you want to change the world you're in, you have to know how it functions. Once you understand how it functions, then you can see the game that they're playing. Yo, none of those cabinet picks have ever done anything for the people. You know what? I bet you $1 right now, Brian. Anybody can go look it up and post it on here. You know what? I'll give you $100.
Most of them are corporate
member. I want anybody out there to don't be a cabinet member that has done anything for the people. None of them.
Here's I want we got to talk about this shit going on overseas real quick before we get into the main panel. But I want to wrap it up just by saying, from a Marxist perspective, from a Marxist, you know how dialectic works, and the social fabric is key. Is key. And when you have a social fabric being led by a bully pulpit, the bully pulpit is a real thing, by somebody who's not overtly racist. It opens the door for you and I to get out a better message. But what I fear, and what I fear is your truth, because I think what you're saying is true. But I don't think it's a matter of black and white. No pun intended. I'm saying like it's not a matter of.
Why
it's not a matter of
conversation. It's going to help a lot of people out there. I am giving you facts. You know how this society.
I agree. I don't think.
No. Then there shouldn't be no but. Because you see, we can move forward.
I didn't say but.
But I believe.
I didn't say but.
No. But
I didn't say but, because I don't think my what I'm stating here is mutually exclusive to what you're stating. Okay. I think that the intention with a lot of appointments is to put people in office so they have a good face to do bad things.
Exactly.
I agree with that. Good. I also think it's up to us not to carry those messages, but yet to say, we take advantage of the not overtly racist Donald Trump in office. Because the media right now has no room to talk about anything. They don't know how to do anything but badmouth Donald Trump, and we need to fill that space with positive messaging. That's what
but that's their job.
That's a Marxist perspective.
You know the difference? They're not gonna come into your country and bomb you like Iraq, but they're gonna do like Obama and drop and send drones. That's the difference from the blackface and the outright racist. They're both.
That's our privilege here to be able to get that conversation moving, because they're not as likely to bomb me as they are somebody who's in one of those countries. Unfortunately, like Iran. Good segue, right? Iran, which if you've watched the news regarding Iran, I want to get to my notes here because I did write down some things. Over the last couple of days, we've seen a civilian professor who was a nuclear scientist in Iran, was the fourth nuclear science over the last, I think, 10 or 15 years to be assassinated. We had a military general, General Soleimani, who was assassinated within the last year in Iraq in a hit that was sanctioned by the U.S. military openly. Nobody's claimed credit for the recent assassination of Mohsen Farizadeh, but it is widely assumed that Israel has done this, and all signs point to Israel doing this. At first, it was talked about this guy was like, somebody shot up his car. There were pictures of his car being shot up on the side of the road. Looked like any drive-by or mob hit or whatever I've ever seen, execution style, whatever you want to say, just a straight-up murder that I've ever seen. And when you see that mob hit, the vision I had in my mind was from the movie Goodfellas, when Sonny pulls up in the toll booth and they hop out on the side and just fucking pile his car full of machine gun holes, and then of course the great actor comes in, my boy, they massacred my boy. I mean, it was horrifying to think that was like reality, right? This movie mob hit, like reality, and then the news comes out a few hours later that it was a machine, a remote control car with a gun from 150 yards away that executed this man when he got out on the side of the road because he thought his car was malfunctioning. Nobody will ever know the whole story. And if you know who Mossad is and what they train to do, it's a vast network of spies and killers at the, who basically work at the will of Netanyahu and his military. They have a council that gets together and decides whether people are live or die. And in other countries, they execute God knows how many people behind the scenes. How many low-profile figures do they get to murder every day? For all we know, these people could be killing people every day because it just doesn't make the news. They got the balls to step up and execute a civilian mob style.
Mossad was put together, I think, in the late 60s or early 70s. That's when Mossad was put together. Like everything we're talking about the same thing: socialism, communism, capitalism. These are all institutions that have been around before we were born. And these institutions have been keeping themselves alive for decades, for generations. And we find out, we see what happened to the scientists, and we're thinking like, oh my God, how could this have happened? But it's been happening. They've been assassinating people all around the globe for decades now. And we keep seeing it. But how come nobody's going after Israel for war crime? You assassinated somebody in another country for nothing. You killed them. You assassinated. That's a war crime. That's a criminal offense. But nobody's going to the Hague. Nobody's going to criminal court. Nobody's getting punished for it, and nothing is going to happen because the same people are in charge of the institution. Like you said, Netanyahu. Netanyahu is not the real person that's in charge of Israel. I mean, he's not the main person. He's a face that's put in a position of power by corporations, by capitalist owners. Just like our country is controlled by institutions, by capitalist owners. They do what they want to do. They get away with crime. Like Trump could catch a corona and be out of the hospital in 3 days. Everybody else people catching, they're dying. I know a couple of people that caught it in North that are dead. Young people in their 40s, 30s, they're dead. Trump catch a corona, he get the elixir, whatever they give him, and he's good. He's walking around making speeches, going on balconies. All those stuff are tied together. We have to start looking, like our movement really has to start studying and organizing to like closer, better knit. Like right now, we don't know what to do. After the election, people don't know how you organize. They don't know how you go into private homes, how you sit there and talk about your school system, how you take over the school system, how you organize together as people. We have to have platforms like this that give people this news and tell them it's not okay to kill somebody on a foreign land just for geopolitical reasons. Because, I'm sorry, Brian, but we got to say it. The military is not killing these people for our benefit.
No, of course not. Well, this is all about, I mean, what is being recognized widely, and I don't know that, I recognize, of course, that many people are responsible for putting Netanyahu in power, but make no mistake, this guy's a mob boss. He put out a hit on a dude, and this benefited him politically. And what I think people have to realize is that Israel and it's been escalating this stuff. It's getting higher and higher profile. You could say it's been going on forever, but and America, and this all is related back to our election and their fear that we may re-enter a treaty with Iran and create peace. Netanyahu, the United States, and this, I mean, we could tie this all back, and I mean, we got to move on because I got guests in the waiting. Jimmy wants to follow the money. Jimmy Brash over there. What's up, comrade? Nice to see you on YouTube there. You can subscribe on YouTube, comment. Always appreciate that. But, when you talk about the money, yeah, but let's talk about the power and the politics involved here. Netanyahu wants to fuck up that peace accord, and he doesn't want Biden to enter back into it. So what does he do? He murders a civilian. Yeah. And like you said, and when I talked with my phone with my comrade in the peace movement today, Lori, who's on the stream, I said, she went on about how he should go to The Hague and they should be tried, and of course they should, but you said it. Nothing's gonna happen. Fucking nothing. They've been whacking guys once a month on this profile now for how long? He keeps getting away with it, and and how long is it before they start whacking people right here on this soil? Because Obama was killing civilians overseas without trial, American citizens. So how much longer before that police state comes here? A police state that, came into play after September 11th and has been funded by both parties, and your fucking buddies AOC and the liberal Democrats have continued to fund that police state and these murders too. It's a commercial, man.
My buddies, they're not my buddies.
Somebody's buddies. They ain't ours. You're right.
Somebody's they're not my buddies. I didn't vote for any of them.
My audience knows who I'm talking to. Out there, you buddies, you're listening, the buddies. I may not be living there anymore, but I'm going to talk Jersey for the rest of my life. I promise you. Okay?
Got you, man. Y'all got to come up there. Where are you at right now, bro?
I ain't gonna tell you, man. I'm in the northernmost part of New Jersey. That's where I'm at.
Yo, it look like you in the trailer park, my boy. They finally got you.
This is a cabin, man. This is sweet over here, man. It's like a cabin? Yeah, it's a cabin, man. It's the sink behind us. See, I got my buddy here. He's gotten in some trouble recently. He had a dispute with a moose. Well, he's hanging in there. He's got his, he's got his aluminum foil hat on, so he's safe.
Hold up. You sure you got the corona vaccine?
I got my flu shot before I came up here, though. I'll tell you that. I'm got all vaccinated. I can't wait for that, girl. I'm gonna be knocking over your grandma to get that vaccine.
Yeah. For $1,500, they're gonna give out.
Hello? If you want to support us here at New Jersey Revolution Radio, there's many ways to do that. You can give us money. You can go to www.njrevolutionradio.com/donate. What I'm really looking for is a few more $15 a month subscribers. That would really help me make sure that I can stay on budget by knowing what it is. So if you give $15 a month, and I want to look at it this way, you know what? If everybody that checks out New Jersey Revolution Radio gave me $15, I'd have my budget for the whole year. And I heard that there's another network out there that raises money that's slowly turning into the Daily Show. I still like them and I still listen to them. But Democracy Now! Said that you pay them $10 a month. You pay them $10 and you fund their whole operation for the year. And our budget is kind of the same. We only spend like 10 or 15,000 bucks a year total. So, it's not that much, man. And honestly, if everybody that could out there chipped in $15 a month, we'd have a hell of a revolutionary network right now. I'll tell you that.
We need it.
We need more people. We need more people chipping in. My sponsors are great. So thanks to the Coffee House, thanks to Blissful Infusions, thanks to Great Joy Counseling Services and all the supporting businesses. I haven't been able to do the marketing work again because of everything. So I'm really leaning on my supporters out there that are listening to this right now, that are watching this stream, and I can see the numbers. I know you're watching. $10, $15. It's the holidays. Put New Jersey Revolution Radio on your Christmas list, or buy No More Measles from Commizon. You can go to commizon.com, $3.99. Download No More Measles. It's a book about vaccine history, FDA regulations, facts, and stuff. All of that. So tonight, before we get into our panel discussion, I want to let you know there's a lot of literature out there. You want to make sure your sources of information are good. And seeing as I know Lori, the person that wrote it, she's been on the show a few times, you all should know that information is good. So thanks a lot. Let's get our panel going here. And first, we'll bring in, of course, the great Christian Perez. How are you, brother? Good. Have anything to plug before we get out of commercial mode? And I introduce Jennifer.
Nothing right now. Nothing right now.
What can we find? Modernity and Absurdity podcast. Yeah, anything new?
You know where to find me. I think regular listeners know where to find me. You can find me on YouTube at Modernity and Absurdity. YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, Modernity and Absurdity. You can find the Facebook page. I'm on Twitter at Perez Podcast. I also have a Facebook page, which is just Christian Perez. And if anybody ever wants to reach out to me, you can find me easily at PerezPodcast@gmail.com. Same old plug. That's the usual deal.
Thanks. I'm just sitting over here silently cursing at my computer, which needs to load pages faster, but it's not. But and then I'm gonna bring in somebody who's new to New Jersey NJR Live, but not new to New Jersey Revolution Radio. She is Jennifer Lewisinsky, and I of course gotta get ready. She's a co-founder of the Asbury Park Transformative Justice. I've known her to work on Black Lives Matter. She's an advocate for abolition, localized cooperative economics. And a whole lot of other things involving Black liberation and equity throughout the state of New Jersey and around the country. Jennifer, welcome to NJR Live. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you? Hi, Christian. Hi, Africa. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Jenny.
How you doing, Jennifer? Nice to meet you.
So before we hop into tonight's panel, Jennifer, since it's your first time on the program, I do want to ask you a little bit about what brought you here and what you've been up to recently. I know that, we talked about Asbury Park, which is, I was in there for a Black Lives Matter protest. We actually streamed it. It is one of my greatest live streams ever. I call it the lead pig hunt, where I looked around for a police officer in charge as they armed themselves against the peaceful protest. And there was none. There was just a bunch of people with guns and riot gear preparing for something.
Nothing. For absolutely nothing. That was the George Floyd protest, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I call it and I was walking around asking, and nobody. They had police officers from 4 different departments to do something.
Actually, it was more than 4 in the end. Yeah, the state police were there. The county sheriffs were there. They called Freehold, Neptune, Long Branch. They were all here.
And then it did break down. And then later on that evening, I believe a reporter got beat up by some of those pigs.
Yeah, and a bunch of kids for absolutely no reason. For no reason whatsoever.
No reason whatsoever. I was in that protest, and I was with those people, and there were children in that crowd, and they were getting ready to tear gas.
Yeah, I enacted a curfew 15 minutes before the actual curfew, and people weren't in the house yet. That was their excuse. Yeah. So lately, we've been working on a civilian complaint review board, which you're familiar with in Newark, I'm sure. Because, not only because, but we had at the end of August, the police kicked in the door of a house where there was a domestic disturbance, and the perpetrator, the assumed perpetrator was alone in the house, and they kicked in the door and shot him twice in the chest, and he died. His name was Hassani Best, and we've been fighting that fight now since August. Nobody's saying anything. We've seen the videos. They were laughing and joking. They had their riot gear and their sights set on the door before they ever spoke to him. The cop is still getting paid. And so we're working on that. Transformative Justice Project is working on a community alternative to policing. So like not neighborhood watch, but alternative to policing. So basically you call us, we come and try to diffuse the situation, and the police are never involved. We'll never talk to the police about it, and we'll kind of do what neighbors do. Know your neighbors and defuse situations so that there is no state violence added to whatever violence there may be that's causing a problem. And we're working on adding transformative justice models to everything we can get our hands on so that we can get rid of state violence and take this money from these cops.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. And how can people, before we hop in, I don't want to forget right now, if you're interested in supporting your work, how can people find you on the web, or do you have Facebook pages or anything out there?
transformativejustice.org is our org, and there is a little donate button right in the corner, and you can just hop on there and hit us on PayPal. We'll be more than happy to take that money because we need it.
All right, money comrades, you got your Christmas list tonight. Make sure that you support independent media and activist work. We were talking about vaccines, and I was inspired by a lot of different conversations in Africa. You know, is part of a Facebook community that I kind of keep an eye on and pull a lot of stuff from. That community is very New Jersey based and a lot in Newark. Although I never lived in Newark personally, I'm a white guy, not from that town. I have family and friends from there, and Newark is the most populated city in New Jersey. Every train line comes through it. We have an international airport. There is a hub there. Port Newark takes in 8 to 12 billion dollars a year in things, goods, and stuff. So to say that what happens in Newark affects the entire country is not an understatement, and it sure as hell hits very, very close to home for Africa tonight, who lives in that community. I lived 10 minutes down the road, and my grandfather worked at the Budweiser factory with the eagle on top, you know. And so if you're from North Jersey, you kind of feel that you have connections to Newark, because you probably do. And I see a lot of conversation with people doubting the vaccine. And I honestly, it's not a black and white issue for me. It's not a racial issue at all, because when I saw the protests going on in our state capital down in Trenton, I saw a lot of soccer moms out there behaving oddly, to say the very least. And I realized that this anti-vax movement was actually pretty big. I always thought it was fringe, and nobody really paid attention to this because it was kind of silly. But that was a real eye. When I walked out of the state capitol to smoke a joint with about 15 other people in a marijuana protest, and was overtaken by hundreds, maybe even thousands of people showing up to keep vaccines away from their children, I started to take a turn, not only in my personal life and keeping up on my medical regimen a little better, but also took it on as part of what I talked about at the beginning of the show, is caring about my audience and telling the truth. And the truth is, I've lost donors. There are people that started donating that pulled their donations when I started coming out against anti-vax people and started trying to get people educated, and it's resulted in money coming out of this company. And I don't care, because a capitalist would change his tune so he can make more money, but I'm not one of those. And I'd rather be honest with the people I care about and the people that I love in Newark and all up and down the East Coast about what the effects are of communicating fear. A fear that's very real and can be founded at times in history. And I'm not here to deny history. I'm not here to deny systemic racism, specifically within medicine in our country. There's numerous examples of racism affecting medical and medical policy. But that's not the science of today. And that's what I'm really worried about, is we're not focusing on the science of today. And Jennifer, I'd just like you to talk a little bit about, why this issue is important to you. I saw you on a Facebook post, so that's why I reached out to you. I was like, I need help. Come on the show.
Well, I have several concerns. So most of the work that I do is centered around Black liberation and equity, right? And like 98% of the work that I do is centered around Black equity and liberation. So my concern is the Black community. And when I hear people in the Black community saying, I'm not going to get this vaccine because we don't trust the medical community, like that is a little bit terrifying, right? Like there is every reason for our community to not have trust in the medical community, to not have trust in any governmental agency, right? We have all of these reasons to not have trust in these things, right? But to not have trust in science, to not have an understanding of science, to not be able to do the kind of research that's necessary when we have in the palm of our hands the culmination of human knowledge, right? To not be able to get the information necessary to do the work to find out if this is actually safe for me, because all of that information is there. But what happens is, and like it's well documented, right? We have everything from the miseducation of the Negro, right, to the master's schools from Audre Lorde. We have all of these people who have been telling us for generations that, like, no, we don't get the right information, but there are ways to find the right information, right? But education in our country does not necessarily work that way, and we don't have access and all of these things. We don't have all of the tools that we need to find the information that we need. And it's really frustrating when people are dying, like people are dying from living in food deserts. People are dying from not having access to healthcare. And then we're going to turn our back on healthcare that's being offered to us for free because people are dying. And when people that are dying are us, because everything that happens that's horrible, by POC, get it first and worst, right? It's us, first and worst always. So why are we turning our back on this thing that could potentially save lives and fix this awful thing that's happening? And how do you explain that to people without pulling out all of these sort of YouTube conspiracy, Dr. Sebi, Dr. Umar kind of madness that is really hard to navigate because it's not grounded in a real thing, right? It's like playing chess with a chicken kind of situation. So like, it's really frustrating. And that's what you saw in that Facebook post. I was like, knock it off. You eat from the corner store. You can't be worried about your health. It's not real. So
I want to ask Afrika, because you've expressed doubts about this thing. And before I even get into why and all that, and you're going to have plenty of time, but let me say, what would it take to get you to take this vaccine? If Malcolm X came back from the dead and said, dude, you got to put this shit in your ass or else you're going to get the Rona. I mean, what would it take to get you to say, you know what, I feel this is a safe and effective thing for my community to partake in? What's your evidence? What evidence are you looking for?
Gotcha. I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that later. This morning on Democracy Now, because I watched that too. Like the information we get, the people that I look for information is people like Richard Wolff. He's an economist. Chris Hedges. I listen to Democracy Now too, but like they're becoming like NPR too much. But I try to, like, that's the best I could do. Whatever. But anyway, they had a Dr. Parnell. She works somewhere in North, and she lives in Montclair. And she was telling the story about how her father died. Her father was a doctor. Her father moved over during the 50s and 60s to North, and her father became a doctor after working as a janitor, and somehow found his way inside because they gave classes, this, that, and third, and he became a doctor. And now she's a doctor, and she works in our community. And she was given the whole spiel about why Black people don't believe in the institution, the medical institutions, why the Tuskegee. She went all the way back, and she gave all of that information. And then she ended it by saying, we still need to go take the vaccine. It's like, I think the way my brain works, it works analytically. I read and I study and I try to take my personal feelings out of it and let what I'm reading really tell me or guide me. All American institutions are racist. This is not Africa's opinion. This is not how I feel. They all hate our people. Absolutely. They all, generation after generation, year after year, they continue to kill our people. Right now, that hospital that Dr. Parnell worked at, Rutgers, is somewhere back there. It's in the back somewhere behind me. A black woman goes in there to have a baby, they may die. I'm living in the projects, probably like less than a mile away from the hospital. I know few women in the last 10 years that went to give birth and died. Like we in the 2020. You're not supposed to die from having childbirth. The women are telling the doctors we're having complications. Even my own wife, Patience, told the doctor when she was having our daughter that she was having complications because she was poor, because we're from the inner city, we're black. The doctors didn't listen to her. And if you asking me to come and put my son online to go take a vaccine from these people, you must think I'm an idiot. Not only did I go to school to get a degree in sociology, I got one in history. And I've seen all the crimes these people are committing. Right now, as we speaking, they're over there cutting off women's wombs. They're not letting them have babies in the concentration camps. In their what they call them? Illegal camps, whatever the hell they call them. They're stopping women from having children. What's the term they call them, sis? What's it called that?
Forced sterilization. They've done forced sterilization.
They're sterilizing.
Well, I do want to bring it back to the vaccine because remember,
it is all the institutions are the same. We
understand that though. We understand, and we understand that that's the root of this trouble.
But yet you want me to go put my faith in these institutions and tell them to shoot, and then tell them to shoot me up with a vaccine. And by the way, the only people that are telling me that this vaccine is good is their media.
Doctors are not monolithic, right? MDs are not virologists, and I'll be the first one to say that there's a history of medical racism. There's a history of almost, like you said, pretty much every institution in this country is racist. But just because every institution in this country has racist roots or is filled with racist,
no, it's racist.
Yeah, but
hold on, Africa. Let him finish because he has. This is. I understand what he's trying to do here. Yeah.
So for me, we could look at the institutions of education and say they're racist. They are, but I'm an educator. So not everyone in those institutions are racist or working to further their ends. I think that the fears of the Black community and the Latino community are very real when it comes to vaccinations because the American medical establishment has been predatory throughout its entire history. But when we talk about vaccines, it's not just white American doctors working on this vaccine. It's not just white American doctors pushing these vaccines. It's an international effort bringing in a number of doctors from a number of different backgrounds. Vaccines aren't white. Yes, there's a profit motive, and I'll be the first one to tell you that these pharmaceutical industries are definitely corrupt, but they are looking for profits and they are looking for name recognition. And, if these vaccines were terrible, if they were causing problems, they wouldn't pass. It's not Trump who's sitting there passing these vaccines. It's not Trump passing these vaccines. It's not Trump. There are doctors involved. There are medical professionals involved.
You a teacher, right?
Yes.
Hold on. Let's show. I want Jennifer. I want Jennifer.
I can't let you go, bro. I'm gonna show him the fallacy in this argument. You a teacher, but the curriculum in the United States of America.
I make my own curriculum. I make my own curriculum.
But there's the school behind me that my children went to. That curriculum is white supremacist.
Okay, but that's not me, and that's not every teacher.
So the individual teacher teaches a white supremacy curriculum to children.
Africa. Hold on, Africa. Let's let Jennifer, guys. Everybody, let's let Jennifer get some words in because I know that we've all heard these arguments before.
Right.
It ain't exclusive to Black people, by the way. I want to just say that. But Jennifer, please.
It's not. And there's plenty of white anti-vaxxers, and I have to say that while that's not my main focus. It's not, but it's definitely on my peripheral. The fact of the matter is that yes, absolutely all of these institutions are racist. They are. And There's like I said before, there's every reason in the world not to trust any of them. But the fact of the matter is, all of these arguments were made about other vaccines before. They're not making these vaccines for us. They're not making them for us. We will get them because they need low-wage workers. The only reason they even want us to live is because they need low-wage workers to uphold capitalism. They will get them first. We will not be the
medical professionals will get them first.
Guinea pigs. White children will get them before us. Healthcare workers will get them before us. Rich white people will get them before us. We'll be last in line. That's how we know it's not going to kill us, because we will be dead last in line. Poor black
You know it's not going to kill you.
last ass people to get this vaccine. I promise.
Hold on, Africa. Hold on, before you go. I asked the question. You still haven't answered it, and I need you to get back to this.
Wait, what is it?
What do you need to see?
Oh, okay.
To get you to believe. To get you, because you. You can't listen. We can't. It's only an hour-long show. We can't go around the world.
Longer, but I'm gonna tell you.
Evidence? I got something in my pocket right now. Is going to make you take this vaccine.
I'm gonna tell you.
What the fuck is it? What is it, man?
It takes an institution that's not corrupt by money, that's not corrupt by politics, that's not corrupt by white supremacy, to tell me that shit is safe before I put it in my body. I don't know nothing else. If I don't know nothing else, I know this. I am not going to take a vaccine being pushed by a white man that's talking about population control, Bill Gates, by people like Pfizer, by companies that pay people. Yo, why are you shaking your head like they don't pay people?
It doesn't make sense.
Bill Gates is not in charge.
Hold on. I think Christian.
You're not taking back vaccines.
It can't be. You can't say they're racist. They stay online and take their medication.
You've had all of the vaccines.
That's cognitive dissonance. That's cognitive dissonance.
Hold on. I think Christian can address.
That's cognitive dissonance. I'm not.
Bill Gates,
you know the institution is racist and they hate you and they want to kill you, but you're gonna stand in line to take their about. There's something mentally wrong with you.
Hold on. Hey, beep. I've never muted anybody. I've never muted anybody on the show. All right, but we got to stop because nobody can understand anybody. Nobody can understand anybody. So we got to get some order here. I got to take a little control. Just say, Christian. I know you have something to say on the subject, so I want to open up Bill
Gates. I don't like Bill Gates. I don't like any of these rich assholes. The fact of the matter is, Bill Gates is the money guy. Bill Gates is not sitting there in a lab working on the vaccine. He's the money guy. He's the guy that's paying for it. He has an agenda. His agenda is to get his name out there. He's a corrupt capitalist who wants good PR. How does he work on good PR? By feeding kids in Africa, by working on a vaccine.
No, he's killing kids in Africa.
I don't think.
Let Christian finish. Hold on. Let Christian finish.
Kids in Africa.
Let Christian finish his
What evidence is there to that?
I mean, look. I mean, we don't.
Yeah.
Let Christian finish his.
Yes.
Racism isn't always intentional. Sometimes it's malicious and it's indifferent, right? People are racist without realizing that they're racist. And there are people that can take part in a medical establishment or even the educational establishment. I've seen it, that are racist. That doesn't mean that everybody is working full time to bring down people of color. I'm sure there's corrupt doctors, just like there's corrupt judges and corrupt cops. But to think that the entire medical establishment is monolithic and working towards the destruction of people of color, I don't know if that's.
Say it again. It's the institutions.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that doesn't mean Africa.
Let me give an example. So in political science, we learn that organizations are that institutions are conservative. They're resistant to change. So if you look at, cabinet heads, whether it's Betsy DeVos or whoever, the institutions that we have are still resistant to change because you have bureaucrats, working professionals that know what they're doing most of the time, that are better educated than the people running policy. Congress, they're not experts. Betsy DeVos is not an expert. We have bureaucrats that are experts, that aren't ideologically bound to the cause of the president, whoever that president may be. They're ideologically bound to do their job. They want to get paid.
And I work with these people.
After that, your political science is a study. It's a study of politics, of social. It's a social construct. Political science is a social construct in itself. Means it was created by other human beings. That science is a social construct. I am a sociologist, and I'm telling you, the institution itself.
The first sociologists were political scientists.
But you're getting way far away. You're getting way far away from the work on the ground that's going on to create a vaccine and getting into political thought. And what you're doing is you're bringing in. Let me ask you this question. Hold on. I gotta get everybody in because I gotta get Jennifer. I know wants to talk a little more too. I want to give her more time. But I'll tell you this, from a political science perspective, great. But I represented government workers for 4 years, and I represented working class people that worked for evil corporations that were revolutionaries that wanted to overthrow the system, but they needed to fucking eat. I know people that worked for Chris Christie and Governor Murphy and all our corrupt governors. They didn't give a shit who was in charge. They came into work every day and answered the phones or wrote the notes or did the science and did their jobs. Those are the people creating the vaccine, not these higher up institutions that entrenched in white supremacy that we all recognize are. And they created a vaccine that went through a process that's been developed through a scientific method. And if you want to say you're so smart, hold on. If you want to say you're so smart and so well read, and we all are, I respect you. Hold on. I'm telling you the truth.
No, but who told you
the FDA process?
Who told you what you're saying? All the rhetoric that you're giving me.
I know what the scientific method is, and I've studied this subject for well over a year.
What scientist?
The scientific method has been developed for hundreds of years. Hold on, let me finish.
What scientist told you this?
Do you understand what the scientific method is? Hold on. Do you understand? Africa, you're arguing. Do you understand what the scientific method is?
Yo, you don't understand it because you're listening to it from the institution itself. You just told me you put on the news media and they tell you the same thing over and over and over.
Howard, it's not the news media. It's a scientific method.
Whatever media you consume in a social construct come from the institutional people, the people who control.
It has nothing. Hold on a minute. A fact is a fact. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, purple, from Mars. It doesn't matter. A fact. This is water. If you're black and you want to tell me that it's Kool-Aid, I'm going to tell you that it's wrong. This is water. It's always going to be water. And the scientific method, hold on. Hold on. You gotta let me finish. You got to let me finish. Hold on. Let me finish. The scientific method is a process that has been created to discern fact. It's all it is. It has no political. Jennifer.
The American government institutions are not using that method.
It's not the American government. Never did anything to do with it.
Institutions that are using it.
It has nothing to do with it. You're all over the world to be mad about this.
Yes. And
Jennifer.
all over the world is not using Pfizer. The whole world is not using Pfizer.
Hear someone else talk.
You can talk what you want.
You're not taking you're not knowing anything. You don't know anything. You're taking information from other places.
You're right, yo. Go ahead, talk.
Okay, so can you listen to what I have to say?
No, I don't want to hear what you got to say. Because you say I don't listen.
Then you don't take information.
Well, hold on. No. I started the show.
You don't even know what I'm about.
We got to listen.
No,
You got to listen. You got to be able to listen, Africa. Africa, you got to be able to listen.
We don't have an argument. If you can't hear what I have to say, then you know your argument.
You ain't listening to what I'm saying. You're not listening to what I'm saying. You just want to talk just to talk that you got to
We
listen.
heard what you have to say.
You didn't hear me.
Every person here.
You didn't hear me. You telling me to go take poison, that white supremacy.
We have heard you say that every institution is racist, and we all agreed with you. We have heard you say that 7 times.
You could go take the vaccine. You probably voted for Biden too. You could go vote for them. You could go take their vaccine.
What does that have to do with this vaccine?
That's not even true. Now you're saying that I voted for Biden. Now you're relating things that aren't even true.
You're not basing anything in facts right now.
You can't convince me to take poison. You can't convince me to go take their vaccine by lying. They're criminals, they're racist, and they hate me. I'm not taking their vaccine. I don't know why you don't get that. They hate you too. And you want to go
Let me Africa, let's let Jennifer talk for a little while. Let's let you, because we got to wrap it up. It's 9:00. We got to go. Let's let Jennifer talk. You don't have to listen if you don't want to. I want to listen to it. Yes,
my biggest fear in all of this is that because people are so hesitant to get this vaccine, and there's so many people that are so hesitant that they're going to have to legislate it. And when they legislate it, they're going to force it on people. And then it's going to be exactly what people thought it was going to be. And it's going to confirm all of these fears that were never really true in the first place, right? So they're going to have a belief of a thing that's not true, that's confirmed by a thing because they made it true, not because it was true in the first place, right? So now we have this whole thing happened before. It happened in 1865 with the smallpox vaccine. People said all of the same things about the smallpox vaccine. The only thing that the smallpox vaccine ever did was eradicate smallpox from the planet. They said the same thing about the polio vaccine. The only thing the polio vaccine ever did to humanity was eradicate polio from the entire planet. That's the only thing these vaccines have ever did. That is just science. That is all the proof that you need. You know why you've never met anyone with diphtheria? You know why you don't know what it does? Because you've never met a person with diphtheria, because it no longer exists because of vaccines. Like, that is what the scientific method is. You have a bunch of facts and they all come together. You have all the evidence in the world that you need to tell you about a thing. There are a million reasons not to trust the medical community. I know most of them. I'm reading a book about them right now. And they used to give me Norplant when I was a teenager. What the hell no?
Hold on. Let her finish up her statement. We're going to give you answer. Don't worry.
I know why not to try it out. Community. And I know when to do research and when to say no. When they're trying to sell me something, I know to say no. They're not trying to sell us this.
Yes, they are. They're trying to come out with a bill. They're trying to get out with a bill to pay you to take it. They're trying to come out with a bill to pay you to take it.
They're not going to pay you to take it.
Okay.
Africa, let her finish. Let her finish.
They're not going to pay you to take it.
Okay.
They're going to give it to you for free, but they're not going to pay you.
What if you don't want it?
There has been a senator out there that talked about paying people.
Right, but they're trying to solve a problem because there's a bunch of people that are talking about not taking it, and everybody's poor right now because the economy is failing, because this disease is running rampant, because people won't wear PPE, because people won't wash their hands, because people won't stay the hell away from each other.
Companies have been getting rich.
Hold on, they got nothing to do with what Jennifer said.
Bill Gates been getting rich. Everybody else been getting rich except for us. So now they're going to
because people won't stay the hell in the house and stop getting sick.
Everybody's been getting rich, but we still got to keep walking into this cave to go take their vaccine, to go take their place.
But you don't. Africa, here's what you don't have. Africa. I'm sorry, everybody. We do have to wrap this up. Africa. Here's what you don't have. You don't have any evidence that this vaccine is bad for people.
You don't have any.
You don't have one shred of evidence. You don't have one shred of evidence. You have an entire. Hold on. You have an entire. Let me tell you this. Hold on. You don't have. That has nothing to do. That has nothing to do.
With no name. With no.
Africa, you gotta let people finish. Hey, y'all can finish.
Okay? Y'all can finish.
Okay. All right. So look, the institutional racism that exists was a part of a larger global network involved in developing 3 different vaccines through 3 different companies being peer reviewed through a global shift.
Yep, he froze. See, that's what happens when you go.
I'm sorry, there you go. I froze up. This network.
You about to start talking
shit? There you go. The network that was constructed. Now, listen, these aren't talking points, man. I did this research through looking at this development. No, they're not. They're not. I don't have a talking point.
You haven't cited nobody. You haven't said nothing. You just say they're scientists. There's studies.
Okay, the World Health Organization formed an organization called COVAD. It's COVID. The organization is called COVAD. It's been formed in cooperation with the World Health Organization.
By who?
Cuban doctors are involved in it heavily. Look, man.
Cubans
they're involved with the COVAD project, which
no.
The Cuban. Hold on. No. See, listen. Here's what you're doing. Africa. You're shouting out. you're African. You're shouting out what you want the truth to be, but it's nowhere near what the truth is. I'm trying to tell you facts, and you're trying to put in who's doing this and who's not. Stop. No, Africa, I'm gonna have to mute you if you don't let me talk.
Yo,
because all you're doing is shouting at. No, look. There you go.
He closed his computer because some people can't lose an argument.
He can come back. I just muted him. He can come back if he wants to be mad, but I'm not going to let untrue statements go out on my network. All right. There's got to be truth. Okay. There's there's guy Jamie Barrish. Thank you for jumping on the stream here, Jimmy. Africa needs to separate big pharma and the elites from the science and the researchers and the medical professionals on the ground, and that's where we're getting lost here because those people have been dying and working hard to develop a vaccine that can make us all safe. And their voices are not being heard right now. And I hope that, we got that message out to some people out there. It was a little different tonight. But Jennifer, let me let you, now we have a moment where we are late. Oh my God, it's 9:05. I promised everybody to get out of here quickly. So let me give you just a couple of minutes of uninterrupted talk before we wrap up. And I want to thank Africa for joining us tonight. He knows I appreciate him, but he's got to come. I love him. Jennifer, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know. I think this is really heartbreaking. It's super sad. Like the whole anti-vax movement is super sad, but like this on top of what's already happening with the anti-vax movement is really overwhelming. Like within the scope of this whole 2020 dumpster fire shithole of a year. And then like all the things, it's just all the things at once. And now people don't, for whatever reason, want to fix this. And I just like, there's no way to explain away this whole crap ton of history behind real and valid reasons to not trust all of these god-awful institutions that we have to go to because we don't have anywhere else to go to get a fix for this problem, right? So like it's a like perpetual catch-22. Obviously, we don't trust big pharma. Obviously, we don't trust the government. Nobody trusts it. Like who trusts the government? That's crazy. So like what do? We don't have an option. The only thing that you can do is research, and we don't have the tools. By and large, the population does not have the tools. We learned through rote memorization, incorrect information. Up until 12th grade, you don't get critical thinking information until you pay for your education, and most of us can't afford to do that. So all of the institutions sucked us into killing ourselves, and that's what we're going to do now. Like, it's heartbreaking, and I don't know how to fix it at this point.
I really want to thank both of you guys for being here. Christian, take some time, man. I know you got some thoughts. The professor always shows up really prepared with a long thing, and I want to give you. It's late, man, but I'm going to let you go, man. Go ahead and let's get some.
Number one, I just want to say, Jennifer, I actually saw you speak a couple years ago at a Black Lives Matter rally at the Unitarian Church in Lincoln. I actually ended up writing an article in the defense of that event for the Asbury Park Press because people were spreading all kinds of misinformation. So I wanted to thank you for the work that you're doing. I don't want to say stalking, but I've been seeing you for a long time in the news and social media. So thank you. But one of the things I want to say is, and I think both Africa and Jennifer both touched on this, is that there is a very real history of predation on people of color by the medical establishment in this country. And it starts with giving infected blankets to Native Americans, right? I mean, I'm not going to go down that road because, we'll be beating that dead horse. We've talked about it. But I will also say this, that there is absolutely nothing that conservative white America fears about the government doing to them that the government hasn't already done to people of color and has continued to do for well over 200 years. That is the reality. All their fears about, taking over schools, medical experiments, all that has happened to people of color for hundreds of years, whether it's Hawaii, Puerto Rico, the Philippines, or the American South. That is the way it's been across the board. Second of all, I want to thank you, Brian, for having us on here because we were here in January. On January 15th, we had this very same conversation about vaccinations and about anti-vaxxers. And I wanted to thank you, Brian, for your forethought on that. Way back in January, 2 months before the shit hit the fan, you had the wherewithal to put a panel together to talk about the necessity of vaccines. And that, in part, is why New Jersey Revolution Radio is so important. And that's why I'm glad to be a part of it. Another factoid is UNICEF. As I said, UNICEF says that vaccines save 9 million people a year, right? And again, all these pharmaceutical companies, they're corrupt, all that, but they're not all American. There is an immigrant couple in France who are both Turkish immigrants who are working to fight the virus, and they had a huge breakthrough also. It's not... I don't trust the white medical establishment, but not everyone in that medical establishment is a racist, right? There's, the stereotypes of the Syrian doctor or the Indian doctor or whatever that is. Hey, I've had 2 people die of opioid overdose. 2 people I care about, a cousin and one of my best friends. So I'm very much aware that the medical industry is predatory, but I don't buy into the conspiracy that they're just sitting around plotting to murder blacks and Latinos. I don't.
They need us to work.
Yeah, I mean, these are people out for name recognition. These are people out for a $2 billion profit, right? Johnson & Johnson pulled in $82 billion in a year. They're only getting $2 billion from this vaccine. This is a drop in the bucket for them. This is all name recognition for them.
Right.
I agree. And that's it. There's tons of capitalist elements involved here, and we could go on, for hours on end with it. But we're gonna have to wrap it up. But I thank both of you again for coming on. And Christian, thanks for your compliments. And just a commitment that I made to being ethical and try and put good information out there. And to me, look, revolutionaries are driven by great love. And I'll tell you this, Africa is driven by great love. I do know the guy, and I've had great conversations. I'm sorry he got angry and hung up. And if you were to come back, I'd give him another minute to plug whatever on its way out the door. Because as a person, I know who he is, and I know he's a great guy. But it wasn't to focus on him tonight, but to focus on anybody out there that's seeing or hearing these things, to know that, I think you'd see that it's not grounded in present day truth. The historical racism in this country is aberrant. The behavior by ICE today is aberrant. I mean, there's nobody, and as a white guy, I've been in the rooms when it's all white people and they say racist things because they think, that nobody cares in that room. And racism is real. And what I try to just tell people is I'm a race trader. I try to let you all know what white people are up to. And trust me, you're right. I mean, you're not, this isn't, and I think some of the fear and what the gaslighting that exists as part of our racist societies. Oh, there's not really racism, that's over with because you can vote now or whatever. I mean, that's a ridiculous statement because I'm in the rooms where people to this day use the N-word when they think that nobody will tell on them. It's real, and it's real, and it's something that I've committed to fighting. But I'm not going to fight it by putting out poor facts. And you mentioned the white community and all the soccer moms. They're afraid of God not putting them into heaven, or their children getting autism, or whatever. It's always fear. And with the African American community, it's this fear of what's historically been done. It's a legit fear, and it works. And that's why they're using people of color. It works.
They play on young moms. These are young moms. And you go to some group and say, "Oh, your baby vaccines." These are young women, first-time moms. They don't know.
That's it.
Access to information, your yoga instructor, your jujitsu instructor, somebody in your life gives you some misinformation. We don't live in a critically thinking society. That's a slippery slope. They pray. I'm gonna play the intro from last week's show, which is the show that you hosted. So the graphic isn't right, but it looks really cool. And I got to wrap it up for tonight. Let people know the show. Thanks again, Brian.
We went so long tonight. Thanks for hanging out. I think it was worth sticking out and getting the facts out there. So thanks again. Check us out. Please donate, www.njrevolutionradio.com. I'll see you here next Wednesday at 8 p.m. on YouTube, on Twitter, or on Facebook Live. Until then, this is Brian Powers, and I want to remind everybody that the police can quit their jobs. Have a good night, everybody.
2020 is pulling everyone's mask off. I mean, whether it's Democrats and their murder of the Me Too movement and their blind support for someone like Joe Biden.
they seemed really unreasonable. And it's like, are we still playing this game? What do you guys think about that?
In the here and now, that is going to be my concern. We don't want to see any more loss of life just because he wants to own the
and then have these politicians who want to co-opt everything just because it's near election time.
But solutions for these problems have to be positive, and they can't be based in policing. They just can't be based in more authoritarianism. They don't arrest your way out of these problems.